This lesson we're going to be creating a rainbow, and this rainbow is going to be created entirely using style sheets and applying properties. The main property that we're going to be looking at is going to be the box shadow effect, and this is going to give us the ability using increments to create all of the different colors within the rainbow. And then we've got some positioning of that content, and then also some properties within the main element, and updating the positioning of the body and the box sizing. So that's all coming up in this lesson. Got a index HTML page that I've got one element on the page. So this is a div with a class of output. We're going to be connecting a style sheet to this. So let's add that into the HTML, where we're selecting and clicking to a style sheet. And then the path for the style sheet is going to be within the href. And I'm going to keep that within the same directory, and I'll just call it a Rainbow CSS. And then we'll also indicate the type of file that this is going to be, so it's text CSS file. And now let's go ahead. I'm actually also, for the editor, I'm going to turn on the word wrap so we can see all of the statements within the screen. I've got the editor opened on the left-hand side and the browser window opened on the right-hand side running the code. So as we make updates to it, we're going to see the changes within the display area of the browser. So let's create that Rainbow CSS file. And this is going to be sitting on the same folder directory as my index.html. And selecting the element. So first we'll select the output element and give it a position. So setting up a border, and this is only while we're developing so we can see the box size of it. So set up a black border around it. So right now we don't have any height or width. So let's set a width for the element, and let's do a width of 100 vertical width. So set that to the vertical width. So that's the VW. And also we're going to keep the height to 50 vertical width. So that will give us a 2:1 ratio for the dimensions. Also, I'm going to add to the body and set the margin within the body. And we'll set that up as auto. So that will automatically center the entire box that we have. In addition, I'm going to add in the box sizing for all of the page elements and use the border box for the box sizing. So that will take care of any padding or margins that we're adding in. So now that we've set the border and the box there that we're going to add the rainbow into, it's also set the position. And the position can be relative. And so that's just going to set it within the page at that relative position. And also let's do the overflow and set the overflow to be hidden. So in case we have any part that's out hanging out, and because we are going to be making a rainbow, and the rainbow is actually going to be a full circle, so hiding the outside part is going to only allow us to see the rainbow part of the element. So now that we've set up the output area, we need to add the next part of it, and this is going to be where we're going to use the output after and add some content in after this current element. So that's going to be generating it using the styling. So content, and for the content, just leave this as blank so we don't have to have anything included in there. We want to also be able to position this element and position it as absolute. And then we can set where the location of this is going to be. Let's use the box shadow. And for the box shadow, we're going to set it at 0, 0, 0, and then 2 vertical width. So that gives us that little square there right up in the top. And for the box shadow, the only values that are required are going to be the horizontal and the vertical. So those two first values are the required values, and then the rest are optional. So we can add in an optional for the blur, and this is the blur radius. So the higher the number, the more the blurred shadow will be. So that's why we're keeping it down at 0, because we don't want to have any blur to it. So again, higher the number, the more of a blur that you get. And we've also got a value for the spread. So this is the spread radius, and this is the value that increases the size of the shadow or a negative value decreases the side of the shadow. So we want to make it dynamic, and we're going to have a multiple colors here. So setting it at 2 vertical width is going to allow us to make this 2 vertical width wide, and we're going to be adding in the other colors as well. And then the last property here is that we can set a color. So this as well is optional, and for the first part of our rainbow, we're going to set it in as a purple color. So let's make some updates to the width and also the position of where we're going to be setting up the rainbow. So setting up the width, and we want the width to be 50% of the available width, and the height is going to be actually 100% of the available height for the element. So right now that's just going to give us a vertical line down the center, and it's directly in the center of the element, and as we resize the page, that's still going to remain centered. So we want to make this into a rounded shape, and we can do that with the border radius property. And so what this does, this allows us to round the border, and because we've got the box shadow, that box shadow will allow us to add shadowing around the element. So even if we're doing the border radius, now we're going to be having the shadowing around that. If we do a border radius of 50, that's going to create a circle. So this is where we've got the beginning of the rainbow and creating that rainbow type effect. So the next value, and we can comment separate out the box shadow values, and we're going to set this as 0, 0, and this time we're going to use the vertical width of 4, and we'll set another color value to this. And this is going to be more of a deeper blue color. So for now, let's set it up as blue. So that's going to add another ring around the page element. And we're going to go with a lighter blue next. So we'll continue with the pattern where we've got 0, 0, 0, and this time we're going to do a 6 vertical width. And let's see if we've got a light blue color. So that way we can make a lighter blue color. And then of course you can adjust these colors as needed. I'm also going to make sure I've got the word wrap so that we've got this full line of the property and the values within the one statement. So comma separated. And the next value is going to be the 8 vertical width, and then the color that we want to use for the 8th vertical width. And of course you can add in as many colors as you want. So I guess typically we're going with a greenish type color for the rainbow. So let's set green. So it's giving us a greenish type color for the rainbow effect. Once again, 0, 0, and 10 vertical width for the spread. And the next color that we're adding is going to be within the rainbow, more of a yellowish type color. So let's add in yellow to that. So it's going to give us that yellow color there. And next one we're going to do is going to be the 12. And looking for a more reddish type color. So just again, just do the comma separation, 0, 0, 0. And the next increment is going to be 12. And we can do red here. So that gives us that reddish type color. And we might want to do maybe an orange before we go to red. So let's adjust that to orange and add in the next value. And so this one is going to be red. And you can continuously grow out from the center by updating the next increment. So now we're going to go to 14 vertical width, and we'll set the color to be red. So that gives us this type of effect where we've got a rounded circle, and of course it's not centered yet, so we do need to apply because we've got the position absolute. So we can set the left position, and we're going to use 25% for the left position because we're using 50% of the width, so 25% will center it. And next up we need to move it down off the top, and the top is going to be 50%. Because we want to hide half of the circle underneath so that we get this full rainbow type effect for the page element. And if we do like a background color of black, that will apply a black background to the page element. So that gives us our rainbow effect, and this will actually resize as we make the page bigger and smaller. The rainbow is going to always be directly within the center and aligned as a rainbow effect. And then you can add in more colors as needed. So I'm going to actually stop at the red, but if you had another color that you wanted to add into the rainbow, if you want to do a pink color, then you'd have to make an adjustment to it, but we can do like a 16 vertical width, and that will as well make the centering of that page element. So we can add in an indefinite number of colors, producing this type of effect of a rainbow. And if you want the lines to be thicker, then you can also update these to be different increments, and that will make the lines thicker. So you can go by a vertical width of 3 and increment them, and that will produce a different type of effect for the rainbow. So go ahead and try it out, and then add in your own colors and the increments within the box shadow to produce your own version of this rainbow effect with styling. And this is all just done with just straight styling applied to the element. And if we were to create another page element with that styling, that would create another rainbow within the elements.